Hello, David McMillan here, and this is part 7 of The Adventures of Kevin and Jed. I'd almost forgotten those two. But before we get on with that, I should explain my absence, but I won't. This lockdown haircut kind of says it all. I've been overwhelmed and underwhelmed by the importance of most things. One of the things that's been taking up quite a bit of my time is a small battle with Amazon's Audible with my audiobook. The thing is, and I won't bore you with the technicalities, but they want to record between -18 and -23 dB, nothing much beyond that range, and it has to average out in sections, not the whole thing. See, I'm boring you already, but the point is, I can't really give it the tone. Listen to a sample of Audible's recordings. They say they will refuse to have a robot reading them, but after they're finished with the tapes, they can sound that way. But I'm not giving up. I only have a couple of chapters to re-record, and for those who are interested, I'll certainly notify you. Just anything during lockdown? Not a great deal. There's been almost no news. The vaccination figures for the United Kingdom somehow make the top part of the banner headline. Okay, there's been some other stuff. What was it now? The trials. Yeah, a couple of trials, not just of people's lives as they wither and die. The George Floyd trial came to an end, and I often like to put myself in the position as the devil's advocate. Yeah. Can you imagine trying to defend that guy? I'm not giving an opinion about anything particular as the merits of the case, but from a defense point of view, very hard to make him look okay. And when his own people turned against him, he didn't have much of a chance at all. Didn't seem too bothered about it. I think he'll blend in out there, mostly on solitary, of course. And speaking of people of your own kind turning against you, Boris Johnson's had his old buddy Dominic sinking the knife in. Look, I couldn't care less, and I'm sure you don't, but the point is, it just underscores how childish and treacherous the political game is. And yet people get deluded when working with workmates who seem to be friends. It's work, there's money involved, there's success, there's competition. Don't kid yourself. We're all among them somehow, somewhere. And Jed have yet to have a lot of injustices put upon them, though that could be around the corner. But as it's been quiet, other than being slavishly anchored to a few things, I've been looking at some injustices in the past and thinking of writing something of it. Like the Guildford Four, In the Name of the Father. That's what set me off. A good film with Daniel Day-Lewis, and even though it's quite old, it's not too dated yet. It's about a IRA pub bombing, and some poor schlub family got dragged in over it. Extraordinary. You know what people say when there's some kind of injustice? Well, that was then. It'll never happen again. It wouldn't happen these days. No, of course not. No. Perhaps not on that scale, or perhaps so. I'm sure the people who were working for the post office here who ended up being convicted, and some of them imprisoned over swindling the little sub-post offices they were running, which turned out to be a computer error, they might have felt that was injustice enough for their lives. Perhaps so. But I might do a bit of a history of them. Yeah. We can all think of plenty. You know there's going to be trouble when somebody doesn't pay for his stuff. Not paying for your stuff always leads to trouble. Sometimes only karma, whatever that is. I think karma was a woman. She was a contract killer years ago, but you don't often see her. But if it's not that, there'll be trouble at mill. And poor old, what's her name? Nazanin, I think it is. Ratcliffe Zagari, or is it the other way around? Anyway, she got an extra year on top of 5 years she already served in Iran, supposedly for spying or some nonsense. Oh, complete fiction. But still, she did go to a protest. Some countries, that'll get you in a lot of trouble. But you know what it's all about, really. £400 million. The British government owes it for some undelivered stuff. Some aircraft, jet planes, bombers, I think. Fighter jets, perhaps. But they owe that 400 mil, and Iran wants it, and they'll scoop up anybody they can to try and lever it out. I remember it from Pakistan and Afghanistan. If you owed, anybody connected with you would be invited for the long dinner. Is it different here? Britain doesn't want to pay on principle, the principle of not paying, and Iran wants the money on the principle that they paid it. So on that score, Iran's out in front. Pity about Nazanin, though. Apparently the guards bring their own little kids in and play with them in front of her, just to kind of wind her up. Yeah. Government doesn't seem to mind here, does it? I had to catch up with Kevin, the British first-time cocaine smuggler, and Jed from the USA, Ohio it is, that's where Jed's from. And where were they when we last left them? Lots of stuff happened, and you can catch up with it if you like. I won't drag it out again. But Kevin ended up in a quarantine hotel near Heathrow Airport. Yeah, with his Samsonite plastic nitrate-packed suitcases. And as for Jed, he and Myra scooted to New York City because it seemed like everybody wanted a piece of their 5 kilos of coke, but it kind of whittled down to about 4 and a bit, what with testing the stuff. So, they gave out their address, I think, as Greenwich Village, but it isn't. It's in Fire Island. And they've been getting along okay there with the locals, though not with each other. Yeah, Myra's gone. I'll come back to that. Kevin is in the quarantine hotel. It was a Novotel, and he has his suitcases with him. So you'd think, well, do his 10 or 14 days, whatever it is, little short stretch there, go out and then get these suitcases sorted out, get some kind of chemistry lesson, or find out who can do it. Well, somebody's already told him how to do it. How to do it is to call this number and get the Spanish-Colombian guy to come in and extract that coke back from the plastic shell of the Samsonites. How patient were they with their... Oh, by the way, yeah, everybody seems to accept that it's Kevin is the smuggler. Kevin paid his way through. Kevin found the contacts, and he made friends. So is it Kevin's stuff? Sure, it's just that his new friends want to help him. Yeah, they want to help him extract it, and maybe if he gets stuck, help him move it. So helpful, in fact, they want to go to the quarantine hotel, or at least one of them. It's an old sort of scruffy guy with ginger hair. He's based in Amsterdam, but he is Colombian, or so he tells people, though the accent is a little bit on the Peruvian side. Now, I've met this guy myself years ago. He really puts on a show. What am I talking about? Well, the extraction from the plastic, it might not be a suitcase, it might be, I don't know, picnic dinnerware, it could be anything. The extraction from what is usually a dark grey plastic, because it's got very fine fibres in there. The extraction is a quite simple process. It uses a lot of alcohol and a lot of caution when applying heat. But this old geezer gets, what I think about, at the time he got 15% for taking it out. And when it came to taking it out from Kevin's, he might have been a bit careless with his scales. But how does he get into the hotel? Oh, yeah. Not happy with some Colombian chemist coming into the hotel room that's supposed to be, well, separated off and having no people in there whatsoever because he's on quarantine. Not happy with somebody coming in, especially with a, I don't know, is it a rucksack with a whole lot of glassware and something else? It certainly is. And there was a bit more than bribing the waiter to, well, the night staff to let you have a hooker in your room in this case. So much so, almost a bit of suspicion was aroused when this fellow who came in, who was supposedly in Kevin's bubble, arrived with what was a rather suspicious-looking suitcase. Extra clothes for poor old Kevin there, who hasn't had a change, even though there are laundry services at the Novotel. What he's got in there, much to Kevin's alarm, is a portable stove. Electric, mind, not gas. No, you don't want naked flames around what's going to happen next. And he sets it up on top of the minibar. That's a fridge, really. Best place for it? What's the difference? There's a microwave oven on top of that now as well. That was tricky. Shopping. Delivery. In short, the plastic has to be chopped up and made as small as possible. How to do it? The hard way. Massive, great box-cutting Stanley knife, carving way through it, or some heavy-duty carpet shears, like massive, heavy scissors. That starts it off. Then those smaller pieces get thrown into a kind of jumbo-sized coffee grinder. Well, it is a coffee grinder because you can't buy anything else that'll do the job. Don't run that too hot, not for too long. Little bursts of maybe 20 seconds and it chops it up. But that's kind of the easy part. And before you know it, there's a couple of big bowls full of chopped up Samsonite. Now, a bit of crap went in there too. I think there was a toothpaste lid and a few fibres and some other odd things that Kevin had in the bottom of the bag. I think there was a couple of small bolts as well, but it doesn't matter because the old guy has bought some filter paper. Yeah, not the greatest grade. He's being a bit of a cheapskate there. In fact, he's just got coffee filters. Blames the English inability to supply. But that's wrong, and that's casting aspersions on our fine supply industry. I don't think there's much when it comes to chemistry that you can't order here. Yeah. All for Britain. I should tell you that this guy, who's supposedly a chemist, well, he's no such thing. He normally, I mean, if this is being done, if the extraction's being done in somebody's flat or apartment or God knows where, he'll really go to town. He'll put on the white overalls, the mask, the safety goggles, all of that. He'll have a thermometer. He'll have the huge glass jars and order particular things, because a lot of alcohol's got to go into that, and it needs to be pure alcohol. It comes in convenient 25-litre drums for a couple of £100 here, so I'm told. And anyway, it's not going to be easy lugging a drum of alcohol or a drum of any kind of liquid, up on a little hand cart as a room service. No, they couldn't really do that. But what they managed to get by with is about 20-odd bottles of spiritus. Yes, that's the Polish fire water at about 98% pure alcohol. Yeah, it's drinkable, if you don't mind having your mouth lit up. So that's what's in use. None of the overalls, the safety goggles, nothing like that. No, and the thermometer, well, he did pull it out for old time's sake, like a magic wand. So the fine pieces that went through the coffee grinder all stirred into big glass jars. No, a lot of plastic waste paper baskets. That's all that could be got. I can tell you that hotel room looked quite a bit of a spectacle, with Kevin sitting over there, soaking it all in, 3 times having called a halt and ready to throw him out. But they kind of got so far, and the chemist, well, is a bit of a balancer of people's interests. He took the trouble to do a small batch in the microwave oven by putting it into a glass bowl. That is the filtered product. Yeah. Once all this slush has been stirred around in the alcohol, it's poured through a funnel which has the filter paper, and what comes out is just a slightly yellowish liquid. He had the sense to take a bit of that and give it those all-important bursts, 10-second bursts in the microwave, and it all sprang up like, I don't know, what would you call it, coral at the bottom of a preserved reef. Yes, only white. And scraped that off and gave it to Kevin, which gave him something to do for the next 6 hours, because the thing is, it didn't really need the stoves. The alcohol would have done the trick. Okay, it does help a little bit, but he claimed, the old guy, that there wasn't time and it was dangerous to do it and there would have been fumes. It's not really dangerous, electric stove, but what he's really doing, he's making sure that plenty of that stuff is left in the chopped up plastic of the Samsonite cases. Yeah, true. So instead of the extracted 3 kilos, it seems there's only 1 available to Kevin. He's a bit past caring about that, but still, slightly wired by 10 o'clock in the evening, he feels there's something wrong and wants to hold on to the plastic. Of course, the chemist, being a professional man, he wants to take all his things with him, including that. And had he done so, he'd be taking away about 2 kilos. What to do? Sleight of hand, panic, bring in the waiter, do something with room service, switch the bags. Perhaps so. We'll have to find out soon. But watch out for those old bastards making a big fuss of extraction back from plastics. Not that I'm sure it'll ever happen, guys. But the things you might not want to happen, you should at least know about. That's the way I figure it. Now to Fire Island. Yes. Jed and Myra, they've had a little falling out, shall we say, because they didn't really have the extraction problem. They're, 3.9 kilos? Keeps seeming to go down. That was to be sold, but Myra had her own people. She made friends. Then again, so did Jed, especially with some character called, he just calls himself K. He claimed that he only knew a few little people, and after all, we're only talking about a few kilos here. It's going to go like in a blinking of several eyes. But Kay wants to introduce Jed to some proper people, some class people, somewhere where he can up the price a bit. Leave it as it is. Don't hammer the thing, stand all over it, cut it to shit. And that's kind of good, but Myra has she could have done the whole lot at once for a good price, or seeped it out, which was always their plan after they left Cleveland, having escaped attack by a couple of new acquaintances from Cali and Barranquilla, and also some sleazeball down Irishman's knob, is it? Or neck, I think. One of the two. Anyway, they got out, and they got out with the stuff. But it didn't hold them together. Where is Myra? You'll know from Myra's earlier history, she's an adventurous girl. And, she was always entitled to a decent cut of the 2.5 kilos, and she helped herself to that. So it's not like she got nothing out of it, but she was really interested in something that was a bit more exciting than life on Fire Island, which, okay, they have a good name, they try to be interesting people, quite a few mattress munchers there, as we know, but so what, I say. Myra. Rupert. Who's Rupert? Oh, I can barely bring myself to report, but I must. You won't be surprised to know that Myra's new friend, Rupert, is not in fact Rupert at all. That's not his name. Conrad is his name. And he's with Greenpeace. You what, you say? Yeah. But as I'm extracting this from a couple of people's lives, and old fans of GDR will know the situation here. Conrad, he kind of offended a few people. Owed the money, didn't pay for his stuff. I told you from the outset, it always leads to trouble. So he kind of dissolved into some kind of atmosphere that nobody would be interested in. And instead of going to, I don't know, some religious movement in India, he chose Greenpeace. But he had a motive. And the motive interested Myra. Apparently there's something on board one of the ships that Greenpeace is using. It's now called the Esperanza. Yeah, and it's based at Amsterdam. So why does Conrad want to get involved in all of that? Well, quite simply, he told Myra, we're going to Amsterdam. I'm going to get on board and extract the thing that is there. Why is the thing there? Because the Russians put it there. Yeah, the Esperanza was, Greenpeace's Esperanza was a Russian, firefighting ship. Odd kind of thing. All that water about, you'd wonder why it was needed. A couple of pumps on board. Anyway, let's not go down that road. I fixed a Neff dishwasher I'll tell you all about on the technical channel. Anyway, what? Yes, Myra and Conrad, call him Rupert when Greenpeace is around, went to the old dam, and they blended in straight away. She'd been there before, and so had old Connie. Yeah. They found the ship, they found the ship something they couldn't avoid actually getting on. And when I heard from Myra, do you know what they were doing? Throwing boulders off the coast of the UK into the sea. Big bastards they were. Not them, the boulders. Why? To stop bottom trawling. Yeah, that's the cause at the moment. You have to give the ingenuity to organizations like that who pique the interest of those donating the money to their cause by coming up with something new. And watching those boulders be heaved over the side, they go to the bottom and stop those big trawling nets. And admittedly, those big trawling nets are quite a indiscriminate thing. Just about everything gets scooped up there, including those little friendly octopuses from time to time. Though I don't think there's an awful lot of octopi off the coast of Great Yarmouth, south of the UK. But I could be wrong. They don't really want to be on the ship, but both Conrad and Myra are such blenders inners. They kind of got carried away with the Greenpeace cause, or at least the dream of shipboard life. It was a nightmare. Those of you who have read my little book of memories, Unforgiving Destiny, will be familiar because of the history with the Antona that taking on former Russian ships and giving them a new name, giving them a new life, doesn't always work out. And those of you patiently waiting for the audio edition, as I say, not too far away, love Amazon. Jeff, pal, will know that don't buy a second-hand Russian ship. And why is that? Because the 10 kilos, count 'em, 10 kilos of coke this time that Conrad/Rupert is trying to get his hands on was placed there in the bowels, well, rather, not even that, in part of the deck of the stack of this ship by some Russians when they were having a little play with it before refitting. Oh, by the way, that cost a lot, and thank you everyone out there who donated to Greenpeace for the refit. Okay, it wasn't entirely carbon-free and nature-friendly what they did, but they're just waiting for that technology to catch up. Sometimes they're ahead. They'll take Bitcoin. Anyway, the problem for Rupert Conrad is he simply can't undo the bolts behind the plate. Yeah, they're those big fat things, no spanner great enough. Well, there'd be a way in, but it's not a matter of just spraying a bit of WD-40 over it. Are there going to be encounters? Well, they have been, but mostly with a chef on board, and Myra got into a little fight with a woman, rangy, kind of tie-dyed looking job, who's quite senior in Greenpeace, well, on the shipboard part of it. I think they've got their own Twitter account on that. You might catch a bit of Rupert and a flash of Myra's hair there if you tune into their Twitter feed. They're going to have to wait till they get back to Amsterdam, because Rupert needs a new tool. Well, friends, that's about all I've got time for at the moment. I've got to go back to the grindstone of taking out my breaths from between sentences on the audio tracks, and some other things. I've got to eat, and eat well. But I've got a fresh recording with Sean in a couple of weeks that I'm doing. One that I can get back to the never-ending saga. Hopefully it comes to an end. And also Peter Tritton has foolishly agreed to come back with me and let me make up for that shitful interview I did with him where I couldn't shut up. Because I want to kind of get into the aspects of, you've seen all the hanging heads and whatnot. Well, you haven't seen them. I'm going to work out a way so you people who deserve to know can get to see that grisly stuff. Yeah, it looks like a rubber face, one of those masks in some of those Ecuadorian prison riots. Anyway, with Peter, I've got something else coming up, and a special London somebody. No, I don't mean Robbie. That didn't entirely work out too well. Okay, what do I need to do? Get a haircut. What's the old saying? Shave and haircut 2 bits. The old code. Prisoners used that in Vietnam. American prisoners tapping on the walls. Da 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 da. Okay, enough of me. I'm sick of myself. Good night. See you soon.